What's one of the dumbest things you've ever spent money on? Chef Boyardee beefaroni. One summer, because I was hella bored, I bought some Chef Boyardee beefaroni and put it in my friend's mailbox as a prank. He didn't find it, but his parents did, and they asked their neighbors who did it. He suspected me at first, but I managed to get him off of my tail. Now our neighborhoods were fairly close to each other, so I could be over there in a 50-minute walk. Every night, I walked up to their neighborhood. Walking anywhere at 2 am is creepy as hell, but the Boyardee bandit does not stop for demons and put a can of beefaroni inside their mailbox. After about a month, they call the police to find out who's putting beefaroni in their mailbox. Luckily the police really didn't care that much and just told them to get a camera, which they eventually did. Meanwhile my friend is telling me all of this from his perspective. Right, so I usually know what they do before I strike. So I start covering my face and pretend to hunch over. I have no idea where this camera is, so I can never be too careful. They call the cops again and give them a profile, and now the cops are looking for a crippled beefaroni bandit. After a solid 3 months of this crap, one of the baggers at the store gets word somehow and starts getting suspicious because he sees me buying tons of beefaroni. He confronts me, I tell him the truth, and I crap you not, he starts helping me beefaroni my friend's house. We're putting it all over, hiding it in the lawns, porch, fence, you name it. Halloween rolls around, and I dress up as Chef Boyardee. I go to my friend's house and say your daily subscription to Chef Boyardee beefaroni has ended. Would you like to renew? I hear laughter in the background, and it's the store clerk. Turns out he recently started dating best friend's sister, and that's how he heard. Truth be told, I don't think I've ever been punched harder than when my friend found out. Good times. We still laugh about it from time to time. Dude, if I could give platinum I would. That is hands down one of the funniest comments I have ever read in my whole time being on Reddit. I'm kind of tempted to try it myself, as my friend has a camera on his house and has a sense of humor, plus I think it would make him feel better because we haven't seen each other for a while. Props to you for doing that. I think we were just here for the newest bit of Reddit history. I was wasted and bought Monster Ballads off an infomercial, and I paid an extra $20 for rush delivery because I was wasted and needed it ASAP, and it showed up a month later. I've always wanted to meet someone who bought music off an infomercial. This is a big thrill for me. My sister bought one of those, now that's what I call music CDs. Actually had some cool tunes on it and played it on our stereo. Then Napster and LimeWire kicked in, and we couldn't give a single frick about it. I spent $40 one of those amusement park booths where you had to throw darts at balloons. For some reason, I picked out this really ugly 7 feet tall frog stuffed animal. It's in the corner of my closet and still scares me when I'm half awake in the morning. I had one of those from Six Flags. I won it early in the day and my dad was so mad. I named his Froggy McCarperstein and kept him for over 10 years. My mom finally got rid of him, saying she couldn't spare that much space for him anymore. RIP. Here's the deal. When I was in 8th grade, my class went on a field trip to Six Flags. I played the ring toss game where you had to toss the rings on the bottles. I won on my first bucket and picked out a 6-foot stuffed whale. This was at like 9 inches. The morning, and I had to now carry this with me all day. A couple hours later I played the ring toss again and won again. So this time I picked out a 5-foot stuffed dog. Now, as a 90lb 8th grader, I couldn't carry both of these with me, so I enlisted a friend and we carried them around and had to leave them at every single ride we went on. They were heavy. Finally a guy asked me if he could buy the dog, and I told him sure, for $50. Took that money back to the ring toss game and lost all of it. The whale was cool, but I never did anything with it other than having it just sit in my room. Worth it because I was king of the ring toss. I once went to a novelty/thrift shop that had a ton of random crap. Ended up spending $10 on a framed picture of Count Dooku, Darth Sidious and Jango Fett from Star Wars, since my GF thought it was funny. The frame recently broke, and I found out after seeing the back of the picture it was from a calendar when Attack of the Clones came out. Someone just cut this picture out of an old calendar, put it in a frame, and my dumbass voluntarily spent $10 on it. You bought the frame, At least it's a fun decoration for when we have guests. It actually has been on the side table by our front door for several years now, so a lot of guests see it and comment on the framed Star Wars picture. My GF just says it's a picture of her grandpa. There was this guy named Don Lapper who sold money making kits, like how to make money with classified ads. I think I invested about $350 and received literally nothing of value. I was young and being stupid. Looked him up tonight to remember how to spell his name. Turns out he killed himself with a razor blade while in jail in 2011. I have to say, his TV commercials were very convincing. Thankfully at the time I was young and broke, so I couldn't pay for his nonsense. If I had enough room on my credit card, I would have. I finally figured out that he implied lots of income, but the testimonials only talked about revenues. You can get paid teaching people how to get paid. Then charge $120 for 1-hour classes and say they're 70% off. Most expensive dumb thing. A Mercedes 500 cell. Literally bankrupt myself buying parts and gas for that land yacht. Sold it for half what I paid and felt lucky to be rid of it. Dumbest dumb thing. A metallic gold laden painting of a Pontiac Firebird. It uses white trash, and I had planned on putting it in a family gift exchange as a joke, but didn't end up going, and got stuck with it. It's currently hanging in a storage room, like all classy paintings do. Hang it in your garage so all your neighbors see it whenever you open your garage. Hang it in the garage so that the Nissan Versa that replaced the 500 cell knows its inadequacy. When I was 19, I got a construction job that paid fairly well. Stupid me got all hot and horny for a fun car. I signed up for a 5-year loan after test driving the first one. I ended up having engine failure almost 2 years later. Because it was a used car and from a shady used car dealer, the warranty was well expired. I couldn't afford to get a new engine for it, so I ended paying over 3 years for a car that I wasn't driving. You got roped in like a junior enlisted member. The irony is that, at least at my dealership, we run away from junior enlisted, like they have the plague. I sell Hondas, and we don't have the massive rebates that other manufacturers like Ford and Dodge have, so getting an E3 making $1,600 a month bought on the $35,000 Type R they desperately want is next to impossible. It's also next to impossible to explain to them why buying a $35,000 car on an E3 salary is the dumbest thing they could do, and why don't they come over here and look at a nice $22,000 Civic Sport. For anyone who really wants to get into the weeds on the car business, the reason why we have a hard time is because of something called loan to value or LTV. LTV is basically the percentage of the vehicle's value that you're asking for the bank to lend a customer. The higher your credit score, the higher the LTV, and vice versa. The reason banks are so concerned about this is because if they have to repo the car and auction it, the lower the LTV, the smaller the loss they are going to take. It's why I can pretty much get almost any credit score bought on almost any car with enough cash down. If you basically make it so that the bank is guaranteed a profit, even if they have to repo the car, places like Santander or Cap One will pick it up in a heartbeat. Now, here's the trick. On used cars the banks use the book value as the vehicle value, with the exact book being used, KBB, NADA, Black Book, and the exact value, retail vs trade vs wholesale, depending on the bank and program. On new cars, they use MSRP. So, what a lot of manufacturers do is that they inflate the MSRP way the heck above invoice, our dealer cost for the car, and then stack manufacturer rebates on top of it. So when the dealership calls the deals into the bank is looking at something silly like a 70% LTV and buy the deal, even if it's super shaky. Honda doesn't do that. We don't have the margins or rebates that other companies do, and it makes it harder for us to get first time buyers or low-score people bought by a bank without a good chunk of cash down. On the other hand, it means that our 3 and 5 year residual values stay up, aka, our cars don't depreciate as much. One of the things that heavily affects residual values is how much the modern vehicle is being sold for. If I can buy a new Mustang for $25,000, why am I going to buy a 3-year-old one for $22,000? So then the prices of used vehicles have to go down. which means that dealers need to give people less for their trade-ins, which pushes down the price we are willing to pay at auction, which lowers the residuals for leasing and comparative buyers. Yes, it's a complicated business. This past Christmas Eve I was doing some last minute shopping and came across a wine glass shaped like Buddy from the movie Elf, which of course also had Will Ferrell's face on it. With everything kinda being out of order with the holiday rush, I didn't know how much it cost, but I bought it on pure impulse because I thought it was funny. It wasn't until I left the store and looked at the receipt did I realize that it cost $22, which is way more than it's worth. To remind me of my mistake, I now drink out of that glass exclusively and have been for the past 5 months. I have to wash it like twice a day, but I won't stop using it until I feel like I've gotten my $22 worth. This is hilarious, LMAO. I bought a cat eye stencil off Amazon that's supposed to help with liquid eyeliner application because my hands are shaky as frick. Didn't check the reviews. It's a crappy piece of plastic shaped like a cat that breaks really easy, apparently. I wouldn't know. I bought it a week ago wasted, and it's shipping from China with an estimated arrival of July 27th. OMG, I bought that thing last year. It's such a stupid product. Tried it twice before giving up. Turns out huge cat-shaped pieces of plastic don't exactly fit into the corners of hooded eyes. Both times I looked like I'd let my dog try to do my macup. If your dog is available for macup tips, let me know. I'll probably have better luck from them at this rate. My friends and I randomly decided to get into paintballing one year. My first visit to a paintball shop, I apparently felt like flexing my brand new I have a job and no bills because I live with my parents' income, so I dropped about $400 on a paintball gun that looked like an AK-47, the way a Nerf pistol looks like a Glock. We did a few practice fights with each other, then went to a paintball field that weekend. The bell rang, the fight started, I ran out, aimed at a guy, gun jammed, and I got shot in the head, just above the part my mask was covering. That gun never fired again, and I ended up replacing it with a cheap Tipman 98 Custom, which as far as I understand, is the vanilla sherbet of paintball guns. It worked, but we stopped paintballing forever, after like 2 months. So I guess the second gun was also one of the dumbest things I spent money on. If it broke the first time you used it, why didn't you return it? As if he's going to let a little thing like sense or truth get in the way of his Reddit stories. Gifts for my mother. She complains every single time. I bought my parents a new smart TV for Christmas after they'd been compliant about their old one and how much of a hassle it was watching things like Netflix. The TV is still in the box. This makes me think of my dad. He was always very embarrassed and ashamed when I would buy him gifts. He was a very tender-hearted guy and very much a provider for our family. I think it was a combination of his difficulty in figuring out how to deal with feeling so loved and cared for. He also grew up very poor and was very proud of the fact we were a very solid middle-class family, and he was such a great provider for us. He really felt that it was his duty to provide for us because he loved us. I was so blessed to have him for a dad because he would take care of us when we were little because my mom worked nights at JCPenney's. This was in the early 1960s, so he was way ahead of his time. One time I asked him why he did that when it wasn't acceptable, and he said, "Well, you're my kids too." He died in 2000 and I miss him every single day. Boxes. I never save them and toss them in recycling. Well, moving time came around and I was in need of many boxes. So I spent more money than I would like to admit of cardboard and bubble wrap. Most boxes aren't anything special and generally you don't need to keep them. The one exception I have made is a box of my TV. I read a moving tip on Reddit actually to keep your TV box so it makes moving your TV that much easier. A few months later I snag a TV for like 40% off from a going out of business sale and kept the box and styrofoam that came with it, and yeah, moving it was a breeze. I tossed my TV box a long time ago because damn, that's a lot of space. I couldn't put it in my attic either as it wouldn't fit up there. I do keep boxes for more expensive items until the warranty expires, just in case I need to send it back. $10 sign plus delivery fee for a $6-8 meal. The one and only time I ever used DoorDash, spent $40 something for 8 pieces of chicken. I ordered the 12-piece family meal since I just got out of the hospital and figured it could be no effort meals for 2-3 days. Ended up with no sides, no biscuits, and 2/3 of the chicken. They had the tracking thing showing and everything was running right on time until the driver left the store and went north instead of south. Okay, no biggie, figured they had other deliveries, but then it showed them in the same spot for almost an hour. They came straight from there to my house, claimed they got lost and couldn't find my house, claimed the store wouldn't give them the full order. At that time I didn't know the stores didn't know they had ED. They are just a customer going through the drive-thru and told me to call the restaurant for a refund. So like an idiot I call the store and they have no clue what I'm talking about. I try to contact DoorDash, but they just did an auto-responsive here's a $1 credit to your account, not even back to my credit card, but toward a future order. And when I tried to contact them again I got a pop-up saying the issue had been previously resolved, so it wouldn't allow for another complaint. I ended up disputing all but an 8-piece chicken only price, because by that time I realized it was the driver who screwed me over and not DoorDash or the store. That's the only time I've ever not tipped a delivery driver. Damn, I wish you woulda been like, bro, I saw you parked in the same spot for an hour, and see what he woulda came up with. A tiny alarm clock, smaller than my hand. It actually functions pretty well though, so it's a good travel alarm. As long people don't get suspicious about the ticking noise coming from your bag. Also a great way to hide the sound of the bomb inside your bag. Airport security officer. Actually, throwers don't worry about ticking cause modern bombs don't tick. Narrator. Sorry, throwers? Airport security officer. Baggage handlers. But when a suitcase vibrates, then the throwers gotta call the police. Narrator. My suitcase was vibrating. Airport security officer. 9 times out of 10 it's an electric razor. But, every once in a while, looks around, leans in. Conspiratorially, it's a toy. Leans back, of course. It's company policy never to imply ownership in the event of a toy. We have to use the indefinite article, a toy, never, your toy. I have this friend who is one of those guys at the airport that doesn't really tell you what he does beyond working in security. One day he says he's sitting, having a cup with a colleague, when he gets rung with a code black situation at security checkpoint. He gets up and bolts through the airport running fast enough to make travelers second guess their safety. Quickly he arrived at security to find everyone being evacuated and one dude standing beside the X-ray machine being told not to move. Airport police arrived about the time my friend did and apprehended the traveler who was still dumbfounded to what all the commotion was about. My friend is informed by colleagues that there is a bomb in the X-ray machine and the area is being secured and bomb techs are on the way. My friend decided to have a little chat with the man of the hour before he was taken away. Turns out he was an extra in a local film production and had worked really hard on some props. When the filming was finished he asked if he could keep the prop as a keepsake. This dumbass decided it would be a good idea to take a perfect replica of a bomb through airport security in his carry-on luggage. This kicker was he asked if he could have it back